strong people who will stand up for what's right and truthful in everything they do, and that's all you can ask for. And I'd just like to say, while we're all here, my ancestors, the Penguin people, been here since time began, and on the drive, sideways coming into Wangaratta says welcome to country, Wangaratta, but there's plenty of room there to have Penguin country on there. And I'd just like to ask all you while you're here, do you think that's a good idea? And all the people in the crowd who are here, if you think that's a good idea, can you put your hand up so that these people all know? We can't see you there. And yeah, just so they all know. And because it's only what's right, those people should be recognised for the thousands of years they've been here. And they love this country more than probably we do today. Thanks very much anyway for give me the honour to give you the welcome to country to everyone. And thanks very much, and I hope good luck to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to acknowledge some apologies for tonight from Ron Sinclair and Dean Reese, who couldn't be here. And now we'll just quickly run through the basic rules. The rules outline when it's appropriate to ask certain questions and are designed basically to keep this evening moving along with short and to the point questions and answers. Firstly, each candidate will be given 2 minutes to give their introduction address. We will then move on to questions to all section, where questions can be directed to either all candidates or to a ward group. We have them sitting in their ward groups to make that a little bit easier. The forum will conclude with questions directed to just one candidate. Please note, all questions must be kept to a maximum of 30 seconds. All answers must be kept to a maximum of 1 minute. Strict timekeeping will be in place with the bell sounding when the time is up, and we'll give the candidates a 10-second warning as well. This evening will be wrapped up promptly at 9:30 p.m, so we appreciate your cooperation in regards to timing. Now, we are grateful that the VFF State President, David Johinke, is here tonight to moderate the forum. If everyone could welcome David, I'll hand over to him.
Thank you and welcome tonight. Tonight's all about you, the community, having your chance to ask your questions, get your answers, and hopefully give you the opportunity to choose the best council for the future of your shire. So I should also acknowledge, thank the council for providing the facilities for tonight. It's great that we've had a good turnout as well. My name's David Johinke. I live north of Horsham. I'm a farmer over there, and I've just been recently elected as the Victorian Farmers Federation President. So it gives me a great honour to be here tonight for this forum. And I should also mention that even though we are hosting this forum, this is to be open, frank, and show no fear nor favour between the candidates that are here tonight. But we do want to keep it short and sharp so everyone gets a chance to either ask a question or give a response. So without any further ado, we'll move on to the first section, which is the candidates giving their 2-minute introductions. So I'll start with George from the City Ward, please. Can you put your hands together for George?
Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we're meeting tonight. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and future, and the elders of the community whom are here tonight. In October, I'll be asking for your vote for a fresh face and voice for Wangaratta Council. Whom of you don't know me? I was born and raised in Wangaratta. I was educated in Wangaratta and then worked in a family business, restaurant, entertainment and industry. I worked and learned about management and leadership skills at a young age. I also worked at Bruck's Textiles, working my way up as a cleaner and a textile mechanic for a period of 5 years. In 1994, I entered into the property construction industry in a range of roles ranging from sales and marketing and property, to the tiling industry, managing a large tile store in Queensland. Over the last 5 years, I have been a director of 2 companies. One undertakes business development for the developers and builders, and the other one in property sales. I have been interested in political issues throughout my adult life. I am heavily involved in the local community of Wangaratta through various organisations such as Miller Oxley Rotary, the Victorian Farmers Federation and the Dinawara Indigenous Network as a representative of the VFF. I know some people out there are wondering why I'm standing to stand for elected to council. I could say I'm running for council to build this or do that, what I think needs to be done, but I'm standing to represent my community, the people that I have grown up with and lived in with each day. I am standing with council to be the advocate for my community needs and wants and working together as one. I would like my community to choose me, Jumpstart Wang, to attract industry and big businesses to reside in Wangaratta and better promote and achieve our vision to become a Victoria's rural heart of the meeting place in the North East. Is that it?
Wow.
Thanks, Stuart. Should also just make notice once again, everyone will get a 10-second warning ding, just to make sure that they're getting close to the end of the time, and we will be ruthless on cutting you off. So thanks, George. Luke.
I think it must be wrong that time.
Where's your guitar? Well, election day is coming. Plenty of folks are running, so be careful for whom you cast your vote. They're talking propaganda and they're pushing some agenda. Be careful, there's no fire in their smoke. Well, there's some with vested interest, and some that seem ridiculous, and some that'll do the city proud. No matter what your faction, yeah, democracy in action, people have the chance to cast their vote. In outrage, rubbish and roads, that's what the people know. But there's more to this old brother town. And we have to work together to make the city better. And the candidates are rolling into town. Well, I think I'll have to go, throw my hat right in the show. Galleries and libraries need support. Yeah, the environment and arts, 'cause there's more than just car parks. I'm standing up and asking for your vote. Yeah, I have no vested interest or fancy new big business or old land that needs to be rezoned. If you're a worker or you're poor, paying rent or own a store, I'll do my best for everyone. Sing along. In outrage, rubbish and roads, that's what the people know. But there's more to this old little town. And we have to work together and make the council better. The candidates are rolling in town. Yeah, the candidates are rolling in town. One for Luke Davies for the arts folks.
Thanks, Luke. I don't think I'll be standing for any musical competition against you tonight. Ruth, welcome Ruth to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. My family has lived, farmed and worked in this region for 7 generations. I was raised in Warrowley, where I attended the local primary school and later travelled by bus to Wangaratta High School. Together with my husband Noel, I run a self-contained bed and breakfast accommodation on our beef producing property at East Wangaratta. We have 4 adult children, all of whom are married. I decided to stand for these council elections to increase female representation in what seemingly was going to be a male-dominated field. I am pleased to see democracy being restored to our council, and hopefully it will be by open-minded and accessible councillors who are prepared to consult with and engage with the broader community to promote the ideas of our citizens. If elected, I would endeavour to ensure transparency of governance and financial accountability of council. It is important to have a very strong business base in Wangaratta to give our region stability. New businesses should be encouraged for growth and development of our community, as well as offering employment opportunities. This also ensures economic security for our employees and their families. Our community demands that we increase expenditure on implementing essential infrastructure, traffic congestion and the maintaining of our city and rural roads and bridges, which have far too long been neglected. Council must retain and maintain our public and land across the Albury municipality as a means of conservation and public use for all our citizens, instead of imposing overlays on our private property, which only causes angst to the ratepayers. I look forward to being part of a cohesive, positive council team working towards a greater future for our region. I ask for your support on election day to be your accredited representative.
Thank you, Ruth. Ashley?
Hi everyone, sorry about the scarf, but I'm a proud Bulldogs member, so it's got to be worn. So some of you may know me from being a former youth mayor of Wangaratta, and the reason why I decided to stand for council at such a young age is I had the privilege with council as youth mayor to go to youth politics camp, and that was such an amazing camp, and it taught all of us youth that we do have a say, and it is okay for us to stand up and do what we believe in. And also a former Wodonga candidate, Eric Kerr, also gave me the courage to stand today. So I'm all about diversity, and I feel that Wangaratta, we need a more diverse council. So I would like people, young and old, women and men, and there was, as Ruth said, more dominant men, and I felt that women need to stand too. Yes, I am young, but I have knowledge in so many different things, as in modern technology and modern education. But also, I have experience from the council and with youth, and I feel that one of the issues that we do have to face is gender equality a bit, but also the jobs and employment in Wangaratta. I know that this year I was going to take a gap year, but the employment sector wasn't great for not just us as youth, but you guys and the people of the community too. And also I feel that as being young, our voices need to be heard because, like it or not, we are the future of Wangaratta, and I am really passionate about, politics and all that stuff at a young age, and I don't, mind. And this is my community, and I love this community. So at this age, I do want to stand here today and represent you great people because I do want to, I believe that Wangaratta should be the ultimate in livability still. So thank you guys for coming and talking to us because we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Julian?
How about this rain? I think the Bulldogs will win on Saturday because I don't think there's going to be a lot of football played. I think it's just going to be mud wrestling for 100 minutes. So thanks for coming out on this cold and wet night and your interest in local government. I can give you several reasons to consider voting for me. The first one is because I'm honest and I make sure that council is honest. And this will be very easy with the new council management team. I believe that the new Chief Executive Officer, Brendan McGrath, and his directors are people of integrity and that they will support the new council and work with us. The second reason you should consider me is because I'm very good with economics. I run my own businesses and I can run council just as well as I run my own businesses. I'll look after your money and our council will be more efficient and less wasteful. You won't be paying for any trips to China. The third reason is because I listen to residents. I spend all day listening to people and every day I speak to at least 20, sometimes 30 people at length, and some of them have concerns which are directly relevant to council. And I am more than able to represent those views to council and to get council to act on their concerns. The fourth reason is because I already have a good working relationship with the council management team. They have been very helpful and obliging since they were engaged, and I have good relationships with almost all of the people on this stage, and I'm confident that I can work well with almost all of these people immediately. I will also bring new business to Wangaratta, develop tourism and improve local purchasing, and I would like to deal with our drug problem.
Thank you, Julie. Invite Gregor.
I'm Greg Mirabella. I know some of you, and I'm sure plenty of you know me by name at least. I've had a very interesting and diverse life. I've had a professional career, in fact I've had several professional careers in the Defence Force and also in the private sector. I've run a number of businesses in agriculture, in manufacturing. I've been in and out of the Defence Force, and partly the reason for that was because I spent a few years as a single dad. And interestingly, in my time in the Defence Force, funnily enough, I came to the North East in 2003 as an Army Engineering Officer to command Army's support to the Alpine bushfires. And I spent a bit of time in Wangaratta at that time. These days I run a small beef property just outside town, and I'm also a company director of a startup recycling technology company. I don't often admit to it, but I'm a qualified accountant, and I have a couple of business degrees. I've got degrees in marketing, I've got a master's in management. And through the Defence Force, I'm a graduate of the School of Military Engineering, Staff College graduate, so I've got lots of bits of paper that I could put on my wall. In the Army we call it an I Love Me wall. But I put my hand up because over the last couple of years I've been involved in the local Victorian Farmers Federation, and that's taken me into a lot of public roles, advocating for the farmers of course. And I advocated for the return of wards to Wangaratta, and I make no excuses about that. To me, wards are the logical way of getting the most democratic solution, because you get councillors being responsible to ratepayers. And I have no particular intentions to change anything but introduce good governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Invite Dave up to podium.
I'd like to thank Dave and the VFF. I'd like to thank the performing art staff and also you guys to come along and actually participate. I'm from Wangaratta. I've lived here for 27 out of my 35 years. My extended family are here. I went to Urunga Primary School and I went to the Wangaratta High School, and I'm very proud of the education in this area. I've worked in hospitality, retail administration, finance sectors. I've got a broad range of skills in management and also from customer service, but also managing teams in HR roles and things like that. My passion, my reason for standing is growing Wangaratta. We're a beautiful little town, we've got so much potential, and I feel this is our opportunity with a new election, with great diversity, that we can grow this town and build on what we've got from the administrators and foundations, and with the new team we can build it up bigger, better, we can get jobs, we can get tourism, and we can work together as a community with consultation, participation, and find out what's wrong, find out how we can fix it, and get together, we can make it into a bigger, better town. Things like public transport, renewable energy, car parking, simple things like that that are keen interests for me to work on and grow and encourage people to come to our community. I'm excited to work with the successful candidates, in particular the wards on the outer sides, to bring it back into a closer community. We've got some fantastic little hamlets in that, and I feel that the people that are behind us particularly, who are successful, will work together really well with the city ward councillors to grow and to really encourage people to come to our great region and to build on the foundations we've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And now invite Brian to finish off the City Ward.
Good evening. I came to Wangaratta 41 years ago and intended to stay through, but fell in love with the city, and 41 years later I'm still here, and I've been committed to this community for the whole time that I've been here. I've heard other candidates talk about jobs and bringing new industries to Wangaratta. I've got a little bit of a different slant on that. I don't believe the city are geared up with enough land parcels to go out and try and get industry into the town. We need to sit down and look at where we're going to extend our boundaries and look for more industrial and rural land on which to put industries. Infrastructure in all of our development is required, and I was at a council meeting a month ago where a development in Wangaratta West is going to cost the developer an amount of 26.7 million, because I think in the past the council have been a little bit lax in what they have been able to levy on developers. I've been an accountant for 45 years, and both in public practice and also in private practice, and I have a willingness to work with community groups. I do a lot of pro bono work for community groups and sporting clubs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. That finishes the City Ward. We'll move on to the North Ward, and I'll get Lauren to kick them off, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lauren McCulley. I'm 35 years old. My parents moved here 31 years ago from Melton South, and apart from 5 years where I moved away to attend university, I've lived here. My husband Paul and I have 6 beautiful children who have all been educated here with our kinders, primary schools and secondary schools. I have had a range of jobs in my life. At the moment I am mum because I've been lucky to be able to stay at home, but there are a lot of people who can't in our community. And one of the big things that I found is access to childcare. Our childcare centre here in Wangaratta is at max, and it is the most wonderful childcare centre, and we need to look at things like that for our community. As well as Ashley said before, and Ruth, there wasn't very many females standing, so I felt it was appropriate also to put my hand forward to give the choice for female representation on council, because it is very important. And as a mum, also to give that point of view across. One of the reasons why I'm standing in the North Ward is to bring together the community of urban and rural. The North Ward actually takes in a fair chunk of Wangaratta urban as well. Though it's vast in farmland, there is more than half the residents within the fringes of Wangaratta. But we need to make sure that our farming areas are also adequately looked after with their roads and bridges, and also have their rubbish removal needs with their transfer stations and weekly and fortnightly pickups. One of the main things that I would like to see council finally put at the forefront is our pedestrian access in our CBD. So I will be putting that forward as one of my main priorities if elected in the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. And the second candidate from the North Ward is Harvey. I introduce, welcome Harvey to the podium.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm third generation to live in the Springhurst area. I have 2 sons that live in the rural city of Wangaratta, which is also in forefront in my mind in the future of the city of Wangaratta. My connections with local government have been in 81 I was a rural city councillor where I was president for 1 term, and since the amalgamations I've been involved with the Wangaratta Livestock Exchange as chairman for the last 20 years up until 2010. Then I went on to become a member of the Agriculture and Agro-Business Committee Advisory Committee. Was heavily involved in the upgrade of the sale yards. I'm also involved with the stock and station industry. And among some of the many reasons that I stood after coming up with, I think the one that probably encompasses a lot of them, is to provide a rural voice, which I think the rural city has struggled over the years with their forums out of the Vine Hotel in trying to get some of the rural matters dealt with. My time on the Agribusiness Committee in agricultural business was going to the rural land strategy, which was a rather contentious issue. In providing a rural voice, still I am aware, as Lauren indicated, is a urban chunk in the Northern Ward. I think the issues can be still dealt with, even as equally as putting the rural sector, because there's rural sectors, as was also indicated by one of the previous speakers in relation to the towns. Moving forward, I think we've got to really identify the economic drivers of this municipality and give them all the assistance we can to move forward. There's nothing more taking the frustration out of it, and communications will be one of my aims, to make it more simple and easier for you people to talk to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Harvey. Now we'll move on to the Warbury Ward, and I invite Mark up to the podium. Thanks.
Hi everyone. I'll just read off this just to keep myself on track and stop myself from waffling. I've lived in Wangaratta all my life and I currently reside in Killawarra and own another property in South Wangaratta. I work as the operations manager at Merriwa, where I manage 4 commercial divisions and 1 service division. I work with companies nationally and internationally. My role at Merriwa is complemented by my qualifications as a current CPA member and accountant, and also as an IT systems engineer. I also believe that I have strong skills in management, including managing HR and other areas. I am a professional and respectful and work with people of all abilities at all levels. I'm running for council as I'm passionate about seeing Wangaratta progress. Wangaratta is a very livable municipality, however we're not seeing growth in new business or industry. We need to support business and understand what the barriers are to starting up a new business in our municipality. When I am talking to people, they are telling me that they are trying to do almost anything in Wangaratta. It's just too hard and too slow. We need to change this so Wangaratta is known widely as being an approachable and supportive place to try, grow or establish a business. In saying that, I want Wangaratta and the people in it to still have that country community feel that encourage young families and for the fact of all families to stay local. If elected, I would work on various KPIs such as spending against budget, responsiveness to ratepayers inquiries. In addition to this, I would also like to ensure that there is financial transparency and to minimise any wasteful spending. I want to see allocations of budget spending done fairly between urban and rural areas, and the decision-making process needs to be transparent for all ratepayers. I would like to thank everyone for their time tonight, and while I hope that I'm elected to represent the ratepayers, what I want most for Wangaratta is that we get a professional, respectful, collaborative council that drives positive change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I'll now invite Ed to come up and give his 2-minute speech. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of Wang. Thank you for taking the time to attend this forum and to the VFF and moderator for facilitating this evening. I am Ed Buck and I am standing for Warbury Ward. I have been a resident of Wangaratta for 45 years and was a director of Summerfruit Australia and also a councillor of the Shire of Wangaratta prior to its amalgamation, while being part of a family horticultural business and offer my experience to the rural city. I believe for us to expand and grow, we need to be able to attract new industries covering both the rural and industrial sectors. Perhaps the council could develop a program to give help and advice on which grants are available to both the new and established businesses from both the state and federal government. Before new industries can be attracted, we need to be able to assure them that the city has strong infrastructure in place, including water security. An approach needs to be made to the state and federal governments to alter its view on boundaries for disasters, whether it be fire, flood or drought. And finally, I would like to lead the council on a program to eradicate the fruit fly from the rural city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. I invite Helen to come up and present to us now. So let's get it.
I'm committed to the Warby Ward. Having been born in the Hansonville district, I lived in Wangaratta during secondary schooling and then married life in Glenrowan district. I've been involved in the community in some time or another for almost my adult life. My community involvement started at the age of 17 with Mousy Moore and his Christmas Club, who actually used to do Christmas dinners for the underprivileged out at Eldorado. I became involved in the Wangaratta Netball Association for many years. I was elected Treasurer and Secretary during my heavy involvement. I, along with Rob Newman, were the founders of the mixed netball competition that is still played at the YMCA today. I have been honoured with a life membership of Wangaratta Netball Association for my long hours and years of service. I currently mentor and test netball umpires in the Ovens and Murray Football Netball League to attain the highest All-Australian badge level outside the Metropolitan. I've lectured, tested and mentored in this sport for over 25 years, gaining respect from players, coaches and umpires. I'm part of the 3 senior officials that allocate umpires to games during finals to the Ovens and King Football Netball League, Hume Football Netball League, Tallangatta Football Netball League and of course the Ovens and Murray Football Netball League. I also worked for many years on the committee of the Hardcore Tennis Association, spending quite a number of years as secretary. At that same time, I was part of the founding fundraising committee, working hard towards thousands of dollars to build the complex that stands HB Bar Reserve today. I joined the Glenrowan Neighbourhood Watch and became treasurer for 4 years. During part of the time, I also became president of the Parents Association at Ovens College. My first employment was working in the laboratory at the Wangaratta Woolen Mills. By the age of 21, I received the respect and responsibility to pass the quality control to outside companies. I worked in aged care and studied nursing, and because I don't have any involvement anymore children, I've got all the time in the world to spend to the community as a counsellor. Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. I now invite Stephen to come up.
Eddie, Pangarang people, ladies and gentlemen, my name's Stephen Hill. 20 years ago, I moved my family to Wangaratta, to the Warby Ranges, where I live. We've never looked back. We live in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, the most livable city, and it's my plan to keep it that way. My children have thrived. We have my son and his partner both have separate businesses. My daughter's a music teacher in Melbourne, helping tomorrow's generation with their music. I mentor young people in business and help them get along. I give them advice and support them every step of the way. I've been an active member and still an active member of Lions. I'm an active member of Rotary and sporting groups. I've been president of these many organisations and come across many of the issues that we face in the community today. It's a community that I have at heart, and that's why I stand for you today. Tourism is one of the biggest things that I think that we need in Wangaratta, and it will enhance our business opportunities in the future and create opportunities that will increase in our employment and start new businesses. I look for your support in the Warby Ward, where I live. I will support Glenrowan because I believe that is one of our greatest tourist attractions we have in Wangaratta and the municipality. I look forward to working with the fellow councillors. I'm very approachable, I'm honest, I have the ability to do it, And I put my hand up today and ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Now we'll move on to the final ward for tonight. It's presenting to the Southern Ward, and we can invite Paul up to the podium. Please go for Paul.
I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the Bangarang community. Right. Hello everyone, my name is Phil Larkin. My wife and I are the proprietors of the Moyu General Store and Post Office. We've owned the busy rural store in the rural city of Wangaratta for over 11 years, and we love living in our small rural community. I'm involved in and support local primary schools, Lions Club, CFA, kindergarten, fishing club, gymnastics and the Action Group. My key interests in the rural city of Wangaratta assisting rural businesses and towns not just to survive, which we are at the moment, but to prosper for the benefit of all residents. I want to ensure farmers are heard and involved in the decisions made by council which affect their welfare. I also believe that the farmers are the backbone of the rural city of Wangaratta, and more action needs to be taken to ensure their viable future for generations to come. More has to be done to ensure our roads and bridges are being maintained, because at the moment they are being neglected. For example, one of our bridges in our area has been renamed Golf Course Bridge because it has so many holes. And people have been coming to me saying the culverts around them are clogged and haven't been cleaned. We've got to start concentrating on that. I'm committed to being the rural voice of the community. I firmly believe councillors need to listen and support people with vision and fresh ideas for new businesses. My vision for Wangaratta is to become the premier city, which I really believe it can become. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I now invite Harry up to the podium.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Harry Bustle. I was born in Wangaratta, educated in Wangaratta, worked in and around Wangaratta for more than 30 years, and love Wangaratta. And so, as the Ovens and King Rivers flow to Wangaratta, so too should the ideas, needs, requests from the Southern Ward. That is my undertaking as your prospective representative on council. I stand for accountable, reliable, transparent and committed local leadership. For the Southern Ward to flourish, we need growth, innovation in agriculture, tourism and business sectors, backed by healthy, diverse communities. In this, we need progressive local government that will embrace initiative. That is what I seek to facilitate. I've studied viticulture, worked in the dairy industry for 8 years, worked in retail business in Wangaratta for more than 20 years, including managing Murray Pez Tyres. I'm currently chairman of the Board of Independent School and part of the Rural City of Wangaratta's Agricultural Advisory Committee. I brought technology into my own business, updating my 4th generation family farm into a successful starting commercial prime land enterprise. An experienced wool classer, mechanic, I'm married, father of 5 children, and my youngest is 4. I want to listen, engage with grace and courtesy and respect, but I speak as your representative with clarity and conviction. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Harry. And now to round up the candidates, I invite Karen to come up to the podium.
Well, thank you very much, and it's a great pleasure to be here tonight, and thank you to the VFF for making the venue and the time available for candidates to step forward. My name is Karen Chambers, and I have served on the Rural City of Wangaratta as a King Ward councillor from 2000 to 2005, and it was probably one of the most exciting times of my life to come onto council at that time and have the opportunity to represent people. And when the Chronicle rang me 2 weeks ago, they said, following my nomination, why have you nominated? What's driven you to nominate? And I said, for exactly the same reasons as I did in 2000, and that was to represent country people. And like Greg Mirabella, the fight to get wards back so representation can be provided to, in particular, rural people in this instance has been a long battle. And being able to engage the community and provide an outlet for the community's ideas is something I think that is very important, has probably been overshadowed by the loss of our wards over the years. So it gives me great hope, and it should give the hope of the community of Wangaratta that we're heading in the right direction. The involvement for the future and some of the challenges that I think are presented for this council in particular, this particular council that's going to be elected, is re-establishing good faith and re-establishing continuity in what we do, but also being able to provide a cohesive group of people that will come together. And I'm comforted by what I've heard tonight from the candidates here, and I think as a community you should be too, that people have a very positive attitude to take this magnificent area forward. I've heard about creating jobs and bringing industry to the rural city of Wangaratta, and I totally support that. Thank you.
Natasha's pretty good on that bill, isn't she? So, you've heard from the candidates. Hopefully, Freddie, you've got a bit of a feel if you like them or not from the initial outset. But that's what the candidates wanted to tell you. Now it's your turn to ask the questions. Now, the first part is we're going to get you to ask the questions to either the whole lot of candidates or to the ward of those candidates. And there's 4 things I need you to do. First of all, I need you to put your hand up and wait for a microphone. Secondly, I'd like you just to introduce yourself, your name, so the candidates can actually have some rapport with you. Thirdly, if you can just then identify if you're asking it to the whole group or just to a ward. And then finally, keep the questions short, because Natalie knows how to use the bell, and you've seen how she does it on the candidates. She's not afraid to use it. So I'll ask for hands up, and I'll just pick people out of the crowd. I might go for this one first, then you're second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, mate. Oh, you got one, right? I got one.
Is it working? Yeah.
Yep.
Relates to the name Graham Norman, and it's to all candidates.
Okay.
Relates to the livestock exchange selling sayards out at South Wang. Number 1, do you support retaining ownership of the sayards? Number 2, do you support council still running those yards, or do you support leasing them out to free enterprise? And if you do say you support the running of the yards, what sort of management would you put in place to run them?
Thank you. We might just skip the one question per person in the next round, but we might start with the City Ward. We start at George's end. We'll run down from right to left, and then do also with the wards at the back. George, I might get you to stay seated because we're going to have to pass the microphones down. We'll keep everyone moving along. And each candidate's got a minute to answer, 10 seconds for the bell. Off you go, mate.
Graham, as you know, I've been working on this for 2.5 years. Firstly, I want to say there's 5 people that actually worked pretty hard on this particular issue. And that's not only yourself, myself, Greg Mirabella, Harvey Norman, Harvey Pillington, I should say, sorry, and David Evans. We first started off going to the administrators when they really wanted to actually sell it or lease it, but we turned it around. They actually said, okay, let's come up with $500,000 and we'll put the roof on and we'll keep it. Well, didn't the actual goalpost change? So it wasn't only myself, it was also David Evans. Firstly, I might as well hurry up then, thank you, Matt. Well, I definitely want to keep it in council hands. In regards to committee, I think it's time.
Sorry, George, we've got to get through, mate. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. The cattle yard certainly isn't my area of expertise, so I defer to people who have more knowledge, but I would agree that we should keep it in council because council jobs are important. We're talking jobs and growth, and as soon as we ditch council jobs, that's to me going backwards. So I support council keep it. And as far as management, I imagine there'd be some committee made up of community members to to work that out going forward.
I would be in favour of the council keeping control of the yards and probably appointing the committee to vote for that.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I would have to definitely agree with Ruth and Luke on that one. I'd rather keep it in the council and have a committee on issue as well, and leave it to the more experts, because you're going to get better out of it that way. Thank you.
It depends what we get offered for it, I guess. I think that it will be in council hands for the next 4 to 6 years, and after that we might be in a position to put in a cooperative to run it again, or to try to run it by a cooperative again, and we'll have more interest, or we might be able to sell it outright. I'm not rusted on to either position. It's an important economic asset and an important social asset for Wangaratta, and it was actually myself, Paul O'Brien and Noel Amory who voted and did the hard yards to get the roof from that.
My views on this are pretty well known through the VFF circles. In a nutshell, I'm keen for the sale yards to remain in public ownership one way or another. I'm also keen to get some kind of committee of management involved in it, producers, agents, as has been done before. And I won't rattle on just one quick anecdote. I went to the Admiral Butcher yesterday, who, when I asked him where he got his meat, he said, I buy 4 beasts out of Wangaratta every week. It's a great sale yards there.
Thanks, Graham. As with most of the panel, I agree we should be keeping it in the Royal City's hands and setting up a directing committee to maintain it.
Yes, I'm in favour of it staying in council hands for a period of 12 months to 2 years, and then take a look at an advisory committee again, as what we had 30 years ago.
I believe it should remain in council hands, and the committee of management that was taken away a number of years ago should definitely be reinstated.
Yes, I'm the same opinion of Lauren, because of the importance not only to the rural sector, it's already been documented that facility supports 100 full-time employment positions in the non-agricultural sector, and I don't think that's been used widely enough to show the importance of that facility. It's got the potential to go another 30%. Those figures have never been disputed, and they're there, in fact, in figures for everyone to look at. And it's the importance that that's going to grow. I don't believe this community can afford not to happen one way or another. A committee of management to sit down, do a strategy and a business plan. It hasn't got a business plan at the moment. It needs it, and we've got to keep going forward now, down the track. Whatever happens will be decided by the community through the committee of management.
Thanks, Adam.
Traditionally, I would say private industry is where any business should be, given that government, local councils cannot run a business to save their life. In saying that, I would like to see how businesses, whether it's trading positively or not, if it's trading positively and does have a business plan, but it sounds typical that government doesn't have a business plan and doesn't know what it's doing. But if it is and it's being run well, then it should stay. It's as easy as that.
I'd support the sale yard staying in the council's hands, and it's part of the community, part of the whole infrastructure, and to see it handed over could be to its demise, and I'd hate to see that.
I'm all for keeping the sale yards. I think it's very important for our farmers that just have a few head of cattle or sheep that rely on it. It's too expensive to go anywhere else. A committee of management would be a very good idea to form a business plan to run it, but yes, definitely keep it.
Farmers that I speak to all want to keep it in the rural city of Wangaratta's hands. They want to keep an independent management team aside from that, so they can run independently of Wangaratta, but keep the asset in Wangaratta's hands.
I agree exactly. It should be kept in the Royal City of Wangaratta's hands with the Committee of Management, as Harvey said before, building a business plan that will actually make it grow. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's pretty clear here that it should stay in council hands, but I would like to see it independently managed. It would be much more beneficial then, it would flourish, and I agree with the previous two people.
Thank you, Harry. There's no doubt that council needs to abandon this proposal of the cooperative, no doubt whatsoever. And council need to take back the full management of the sale yards. My first 3 years on council, Harvey was on the Committee of Management, or the advisory committee that we had back then, and it did involve the stakeholders throughout the rural city of Wangaratta. And make no mistake that the rural city of Wangaratta over the years will subsidise other venues, and it does. Look at your aquatic centres, look at your parking, and the sale yards is no different. And Harvey would have probably better figures than I would have lately as to the running costs of the sale yards, but we're prepared to subsidise ongoing community assets, and this shouldn't be any different.
Thank you. I've got a question down the front. Can we have a microphone down the front, please? Microphone.
My name's Cassandra, and I'm asking a question of the candidates who are standing for the City Ward. This year, the administrators voted to adopt the new Wangaratta CBD Master Plan. Have you read that document? And if yes, is there a proposal in that master plan that you would like to see enacted in coming years in Wangaratta?
Start with Ken and we'll work our way to the right.
Well, I can say that I've read the plan, and there's a few things that I think will take a long time to achieve, but a start has been made on some of the expenditure we've got in the rural city.
Thanks, Cass. Yes, I've read it, and I feel there are some things that we need to do immediately, but there's some other things that need to go back to community consultation, just to clarify where people want to go with that direction of certain items.
Yes, I have read it. I don't have any particular issues with anything that I can recall, but one of the things that I am big on, going back to my time at the Jazz Festival, I would like to see council looking at some more bricks and mortar investment in tourist facilities.
Yes, I would say the same as Mr. Mirabella.
Yes, I have read the document. I have to agree with Ken and Dave on that one. That would have to ask the community a bit more, and there is a few things that have already started.
Likewise, I have read it, and I think some of the things need to go back to the community for more discussion.
I've read it in extreme detail, and was quite big on making sure the library can get an information centre inside it. But the main thing I think we can do that I can support 100% is the grading of the city, planting with more trees, more sort of landscaping. That's going to help mitigate climate change as well, as far as, there's a big plan there for the city to be more greener, and I support that 100%.
Yes, I've read it too. I do agree with Ken, Dave, Ashley and Rick. I think we need to go back to the public. There's a lot of work to be done there. It's not going to be an easy job, but yes, I do believe it can work, but a lot of changes need to be done.
Thanks, George. Thanks for the question, Cassandra. We've got a gentleman in the centre.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Kieran Clem. We used to hear a lot
Karen,
about
just
the 3
use the
R's.
question to be directed to, please.
To all candidates.
Thank you, Karen.
We used to hear about the 3 R's, roads, rates and rubbish. We've got the rates, we certainly know it. We get our rubbish collection, we certainly know it. But the roads have been left behind. Some of them, you're lucky to get a horse and cart up. We need modern, efficient transport to get produce to market. If you're talking about running businesses, The rural business is what props up this city. So what are we going to do about the roads?
Thanks, Karen. We'll start with the South Ward and Karen.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely right, Karen. Rural roads maintenance, ongoing strategy for that has waned. There's no doubt about that. When you consider that we've got 1,288 kilometres of unsealed roads, there's your problem. There's your problem presented. When you and I were on council, Karen, we certainly did have a very strong rural roads policy and maintenance and resheeting policy, and I think, you know, keeping in perspective, people are wanting rates to stay down and expenditure to remain at a controlled level. We certainly need to provide a better program than we've witnessed in recent times.
Thanks for your question, Karen. You're quite right. Roads are very, very important for rural people, and there has been a lot of work done this year, and I'm encouraged by the budget. There's more money in the council budget for roads in the coming year, so I look forward to better roads in the future, and it's something that I'll keep looking at if I get elected. Thank you.
It's glad to hear that there is actually more money going to the roads this next year, but a hell of a lot more still has to be done. The maintenance on the roads at the moment is that bad. Not many people know it, but I've got a letter here today from up here at home from Australia Post, which will be going out to some residents saying that they won't be able to get their roads, their mail anymore because the roads are that bad. It is Occupational Health and Safety Act that they're bringing in that the mail isn't going to get delivered. You have to go to your post office. So you do have to spend more money on the roads, employ more people through the roads. If we have to make a budget cut somewhere else, that's so be it. You have to actually start making it proper to get on the roads.
Warby Ward and roads. I mean, we're only going to go to Glenroe and have a look at the state of the roads up there. I'll be advocating for more to be spent on infrastructure, roads, and all those bits and pieces that belong to those footpaths, etc. Again, I'm very strong on infrastructure, and I'll be advocating very, very strongly to support that. If you look at all the tourists that go through Glenroe and what they've got to put up with, it's amazing we don't have more complaints than what there is out there today. Because honestly, the issues in Glenroe are atrocious. I mean that sincerely. That's something I'll be advocating for and strongly standing on.
Most definitely the roads, and talking about Glenroe, it is absolutely a disgrace. It's a forgotten little town. It's out virtually in the wilderness, and it's going to be a ghost town if something soon is not done. Pothole after pothole after pothole, just patched, and it's supposed to be the main road. No wonder visitors don't come. There's nothing to offer. And around the little area, the back streets that are dirt, they haven't been graded apparently. Someone said for 2 years the potholes are that deep it's terrible. And yes, the roads do need to have more attention. Driving all through the Warby Ward, it's been absolutely horrendous. And especially after the rains, it's even worse.
Yes, I agree that roads have definitely been neglected, and I'd like to see a vast improvement in the situation. And otherwise, being in business, I even find that I live on a dirt road, and the road at the moment is quite impossible.
I'd just like to agree with all the other guys. Obviously, we're voting out in the Warby and rural areas, and obviously we understand that the roads aren't up to scratch, but there always is that balance of spending and where you spend it, and it really comes down to the councillors to sit down and really work out and advocate for their areas to where that money's going to be spent, but there is that balancing act.
Yeah, I'm the same as mate. I agree with all the previous speakers, but we're actually picking some fruit that was given to us around it by a tree called amalgamation. We were told that amalgamation roads, councils had to get above roads rates and rubbish. But I don't believe anybody in this room got to this facility unless they travel on a road. And there's no road for your children to go down or go and get to, and specifically in my situation, where I have product delivered to me, and I've just recently had tankers come in and there's more leaves hanging on the track, and you get a big burly truck driver stand out of it and look at his truck, and it looks like a tank camouflage, ready to have a go at that situation, we've really got to sit down and work out some real serious policies. And I'm sorry, but the politicians above us in state and federal government have got to be made very well aware a road network is their greatest defence of health and whatever else other service they have.
I tend to agree. Our rural roads have been somewhat left a little bit. We need to be putting more money into that, into the grading, into the resealing. When I was on council from 08 to 012, we had a rural resealing strategy. I haven't seen that go forward from after I left in 2012. It needs to be reinstated and more money needs to be put into it. But it's not only our own council roads, it's also the roads that are managed by Vic Roads. There isn't enough pressure being put on by council for Vic Roads to fix these roads. Saying roads a few times. So it's not only a council issue, it's also a Vic Roads state government issue. So we definitely need to be putting pressure on the state government as well for more funding for our own council roads, but also to have the main roads fixed properly and not patched.
Thanks. Just go for Ken from the start. From the City Board.
Well, in fairness to the administrators, this year we've got the biggest program for infrastructure that we've had in Wangaratta for some 20 years. And I put a submission up last year about roads and rubbish. Didn't get very far, but I went to 2 of the budget meetings this year, and we had one, the one at Millawa, there was myself and one other ratepayer who took the trouble to come and present at the budget meeting. So I don't think we can complain too much, but there's a 20 odd million to be spent on infrastructure this year.
23 million, 9.6 of that is going into capital works. And I'd say that some of that money perhaps needs to be reallocated from the city ward to the outer ward, because it seems like all the people behind me are saying, screaming, we need better roads. And potentially with our parking issues within the city ward, perhaps some of our internal people could ride bikes or do something a little bit greener to alleviate some of the issues we have with parking.
I live on a dirt road and hasn't been graded for a while, but I do know that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, I think. I've built and maintained a few roads in the time, and while I acknowledge and endorse most of what people have already said, one thing I do know is that weather cycles play a big role here, and I'm guessing that after this particularly wet winter and wet season, priorities will have to shift again.
Thank you for your question, Kieran. So they've just sold Melbourne Ports for nearly $10 billion, and we're going to get $1 billion of it. So I guess we can apply for a bit of that, and we can get some money from the state government to catch up with the backlog of roadworks that are needed. We do have a program of roadworks, and it's been going all the time. And in fact, the administrators and the new management team have done a fantastic job with less money, using appropriate surfaces where they're supposed to be. But if I get elected, I will bring a motion to council that we actually write to the state government and ask for some money, and we can use the recent rains as an excuse, as a reason for more funding.
Yeah, that's it. I have to agree with Dave on that one, but also that it has been quite neglected. It's not setting a great example for our learner drivers and all drivers for that matter. It is a health and safety issue, and as mentioned before, if we need to make budget cuts to go towards this issue, I would be happy to put that one forward, because it is a major issue. And from what the backers saying, that their roads are probably more or worse than the CBD. I know it's hard when I travel to uni at the moment, that it is quite dangerous along the highways and through Chain Road and stuff. So yeah, it definitely needs to be looked into.
Well, I agree with everyone, but our gravel roads in particular need to be upgraded and more care taken of them. I can say also that I read in the council ratepayer satisfaction survey that it was recommended that more money be spent on our roads, given that the point of difference was over 10, I think, between the Wangaratta city and the state average. So that backs it up, I guess.
I think just about everything has been covered. Money, weather, and we are an arm of state government, so it boils down to get, most local governments are trying to do more with less, and that's a problem for all councils. So I agree with everyone on the panel that we need to maybe address the strategy, keep looking at it and see what our priorities are every time.
Thank you for the question. I totally agree with Steve, Lauren and Dave. If you do get elected, Steve, can you do me a favour? Fix up the Warby Range Road. Every time I ride down that place with my motorbike, I nearly fall off. Overall, I mean, whoever's elected to council, regardless what ward we're in, we all should be working together. Now, if it means the city ward and other wards need to go to a particular ward to sit there and listen to all your concerns, that's what we need to do. It's about working as a team lead. It's about you, not us. You're the one who are actually paying the bills. So we need to listen to you.
Thanks, George. I'll ask for another question. Gentlemen, just up to the side here. Yeah. Just keep your hand up. Wait for a microphone, please.
Brian Fox, can you hear me without a microphone?
No, it'd be nice just to have a microphone, please. Microphone.
This young man here has a microphone.
Oh, we've just got the man standing up first, please.
Hello? Brian Fox. I want to ask Dr. Fitch particularly.
Can we just have to the ward or to the group of councillors to start with first, and then we'll go to the individuals later in the third section of the night, please?
I'll leave mine to the individuals because
No
I want to ask Dr. Fitch a question.
Okay, we can do that.
But seeing I'm on my feet, would we rather...
Who's the question directed to, please?
Yeah, to the people in the wards outside of the city.
Okay.
Would they rather a new U-Butte pool, or would they rather better roads?
Lauren.
I think I'd much rather better roads in the rural areas.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Lauren. I think the roads would serve more people. You can have the best pool in the world, and if I can't get to it, it's not worth it.
Well said. I've actually used the pools in Wangaratta, and I think they're fantastic. The one down at the YMCA, fantastic pool. So if we've got something that good now, okay, we can spend a lot more money on doing it, but there are other essential things such as roads and that we really need to probably focus on more so.
Roads are definitely an integral part of living in the wards, and relating back to the Shire of Wangaratta, roads are one of the only services that people really look forward to and had. So roads are definitely very, very important.
The roads are definitely on my agenda. We definitely have to have them fixed. And yes, if we forego the swimming pool for at least another couple of years, I'm happy with that. But our roads must take priority.
3 councils in 3 wards, it's a balancing act. We have to balance what's best for the whole community with roads and the pool. So what I'd be advocating for is looking at where the best money would be spent, A, to improve those roads, B, do we need that pool today, tomorrow or next year? All right? And just onto the master plan too, I think the CBD master plan should be a part of the rural city of Wangaratta master plan, and the CBD plan should be part of that.
I agree with exactly what Steve just said then. But at the moment, I would definitely say roads, because the pools of water at the moment are just too much for the roads.
Thanks, Brian. It's a good question, and it's not one or the other. It's a matter of balancing needs of the city, needs of the country. Yes, roads are very, very important for tourists to travel around and to get produce to market, but it's not one or the other. So I think we can have both.
Thanks, Brian, for your very direct question. Better roads.
Thank you, Karen. The gentleman on the side there.
Hugh Maguire, Wangaratta, and this is directed to the City Ward. Having sadly lost Yoronga Pool and a dangerous object built in replacement for it, which I disagree with, will you retain the Olympic pool as a historical pool that I will use in my future, and when I have a family I will always use?
George?
It's very impossible to actually answer that question until I get in there. There's been a lot of information being withheld within the actual council and administrators. If I'm elected, I will look at it deeply. I've been hearing a lot of concerns. It's not only just the Olympic pool and the Yoronga pool. With my experience in pools, being in construction, over the last 40 years, 50 years, the way they maintained the pool wasn't real correct. You shouldn't empty them and fill them up, because it does a lot of damage to the actual construction of the actual pool. So until I'm elected, I want to actually sit down and actually have a look at the depth of the actual
I think the rural city aquatic strategy, as it's known, the economics of it, if we have the new pool at the Bar Reserve, then obviously the Olympic pool, the economics don't say it's going to add up really to have that as well. So I'm concerned about this actual social thing here, where the people of Yoronga are now, how they're going to, can they afford to come to the new pool that's built? Is it going to be learn to swim for kids? You know, a lot of Victorian kids are missing out on learn to swim, since, you know, especially since Yoronga pool closed. So I think it's too simple to say until, as George said, if once we're in council, look at the aquatic strategy and weigh up all options. But I don't think you can have both. So one's going to, you know, you ditch the new pool, or you keep the old one that's inefficient, basically.
I'm prepared to have an open mind regarding that and be willing to look into it if I was elected.
Yeah, I love the Olympic pool. I grew up with the Olympic pool. It's, you know, swim sports carnival, so I'd love for it to stay open. However, it is an issue that we would have to investigate further.
So I think Wangaratta needs an outdoor pool, like the Olympic pool. And I think there needs to be a pool available for recreational use outside and for teaching and health. I think we can support two pools, and I see the indoor pool as being more for actually medical use, for hydrotherapy. The problem with the splash park, of course, is that it is built beside the road. There's no off-street car parking, and one day a child is going to walk out into that street and they're going to be killed, and it's entirely foreseeable, and all of that needs to be off the street and in the old location with off-street car parking.
I actually concur with most of what Julian said. I have a fondness for the Olympic pool. I do believe we can support two pools. My kids have all been to numerous school swimming sports as Olympic pool, and I think it has a particularly good function for schools, for weekend recreation and so on. In regards to the cost, I think when I checked on this, and I could be wrong, but I think the quote was something like 14 million, I think, to refurbish the Olympic pool, and I'm not convinced that's the only solution. So I'd certainly, subject to, having a closer look at, should I be elected, but I'd be in favour of looking at keeping the Olympic pool.
I think the number of pools is important in terms of we are looking at a community that feels like they've been neglected by the removal of one, and to potentially have another one built on the same side of town, and it created this us and them, and I feel it's important to go back to the community and remove that division and work out what's the best strategy both economically and suitability for the whole community as a group. The splash park is an alternative. It's not necessarily loved by the surrounding community. There are dangers, and it's important that we address those and then address the aquatic strategy as a whole to ensure that the community as a whole is satisfied.
Well, I've always been an opponent of spending $14.4 million to create a 50-metre outdoor pool that's going to be heated. We have got state government funding of $1.5 million, if my memory is correct, to build a hydrotherapy pool at the Bar Reserve, and I think we should be going ahead with that and doing a little bit of work on the Olympic pool in Swan Street and retaining that for some time.
Thanks, Ken. We've got a question. The gentleman in the front first and the gentleman in the back second, if that's all right. Yep, that's the one. Cheers.
I've got a question.
Name and direction, please.
I've got a question. Peter Mudge.
Can I name first,
Peter
please?
Mudge.
Yes,
I've got a question for those standing for the city ward. I just want to ask how many of those actually do not live in the city ward, and if they live outside the city ward, why aren't they standing for their local ward, not the city?
Yes, I live in the city ward and I have for the entire time I've lived in Wangaratta.
Born and bred in Urunga.
Yes, I live just outside the city on the Alpine Road. The reason I'm standing in the city ward is because I've had a lot to say as a local VFF president about wards, about rural representation. So the reason I'm putting my hand up is because I'm offering what I think is a fairly good suite of skills and credentials, and it would be easier for me, I think, in my opinion, to stand in the ward that I live in, easier to be elected, but I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I think I'd like to try and bridge the urban-rural divide, and that was a criticism that was certainly floated around heavily at the time that the VEC was looking into the matter.
I live out at Docker in the Warby ward, but I have a business in Docker Street, a property in Roy Street, and a business in Joyce Way. So I'm interested in making sure that business is supported with this council and that we get effective spending of money, no waste, and good services for business and more people. I want to bring more businesses to Wangaratta.
So currently I live in the Warby ward. I used to live in the city ward, but I've recently moved. The reason why I'm going for the city ward is I spend most of my time there. I'm never really home. And also because of just all the commitment that I do in the city ward, it makes more sense for me to apply for the city ward.
I don't live in the city ward, I live in North Ward. The whole point of me standing in the city is the fact that we're going to have 7 councillors in 4 different wards, and we've been able to choose where we stand, and I think that's great because that means that we truly are representing all of the municipality, not just our ward.
I've lived in Wangaratta for 6 years, coming up to 7, and I'm a blow-in, so that's maybe a good thing, people, to bring new creative ideas to Wangaratta. And I'm in the city ward, and it's probably I'm an urban boy, probably. Western suburbs of Sydney, where I was from.
I live in the city ward. I concur with Julian. We need to promote Wangaratta for more industry. and businesses to reside in the city. That's a major factor. That's one of my visions. The way about we do it, I think we need to work as a team and brainstorm ways of promoting the area.
Thanks, George. The second gentleman, and then.
Thank you, Chairman David. And I guess you'd acknowledge this has been a VFF issue for a long time. Doug Jones is my name, and to all candidates. Karen mentioned it in passing, but it's usually the elephant in the room, and that is the burden of municipal rates on rural farming businesses and the unfairness of it all. It's either ignored or mentioned in passing. I'd like an acknowledgement and perhaps a comment about cutting the suit to fit the cloth.
Sorry, Lauren. The question is, do you think that the current weighting, the pool of the current weighting distribution is fair on the agricultural community? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Start with you, Karen. Then. Sorry, you pick up with my phone. Yeah. Thank you. It was Doug.
Can we just repeat that? We're going to get an answer as well. Is everyone answering this?
Yeah, everyone will be answering this question. Once again, the question was, with the rating pool that's collected from the council, do you believe that the current weighting towards agriculture is a fair collection system?
You have to explain that better to me.
Okay, so rates are obviously collected by the different categories within the council. The council then can choose to use a differential rate to distribute, to collect rates out of different areas. The question is, do you think that the agricultural sector is currently fairly treated in that process?
Thanks, Doug, for the question, and you're right. It's a question that is raised, if not annually, at elections every 3 or 4 years, and it is a serious question. It is a balancing act. I think Ken Clark said it's a $60 million council now, and I think probably 10 years ago it was a little bit over half of that. The farming sector, through differential rating, in the past, I believe, has been considered and looked after. There have been changes that have increased that rate to a higher level, and I'm comforted by the people that are sitting here that of the 7 candidates that will find their way into this new council, that you will get fair consideration to that rating system that's currently a high system.
Thanks for the question, Doug. It's very good that we have rate capping at 2.5, and I must say that the administrators here in Wangaratta have done a very, very good job of weighting the rural sector, and having had a briefing recently on that. I think that the rural people here in Wangaratta are being very, very well looked after, and I'm quite happy with the system that we have here in Wangaratta. Probably much better than most other parts of Victoria. So thank you.
Yeah, we can always go back and look at what's happening, why it is different. But an individual person can also ring up, I think it's the Auditor General, to get his own, to get them out to re-evaluate his property at next to no price. And once that comes down, you may actually get it cheaper. But if I get elected to council, that's one of the things we do have to look at, see whether it is fair. At the moment, there are differences in a lot of places, so yeah, it's one of the things we have to look at.
Thank you. The assessment of these rates needs to be looked at, and the way that it is assessed, whether it's an ongoing business on the real properties or a non-ongoing business, that's probably been looked at in the past and probably needs to be looked at again. So it's something that needs to be addressed, and I don't think it should be addressed lightly, and I think it should certainly have some professional input as to council as to what that will happen. Thank you.
Now, I agree. I think it needs to be assessed by somebody, but I do commend the administrators. I think they have done a fair and reasonable effort this time, but it needs to be ongoing. It needs to be looked at all the time. It doesn't need to be done once. It needs to be done quite on a regular basis. but I think they've done a marvellous job at present.
I think that rates in the rural area should be, the attempt should be to keep them as low as possible, because the business and the farming community out there have problems with the ups and downs in profitability and whatever. Therefore, it's not just a straight going concern, and any help a farmer could get is in this current position should be valued.
I do agree that it is something that we need to review and review regularly, but I don't think it would matter if we put more loading on top of the Wangaratta in the city people, then they would turn around and potentially say that it's too expensive for them and the rural sector are getting it too light. So once again, it is always a balancing act and understanding exactly who's paying for what and the fairness of what they're paying for.
Yes, Doug, and I sympathise with you in relation to your rates. It's been an ongoing issue for many years. We've just heard in the last while we talked about roads. They've got to be paid for. We've got to find the money to pay the bills. 24 years ago, I got told about the economies of scale that we're going to have in local government. They've never come forward. They've never been there. I think some of the state members are going to have to stand up to the plate and understand some of the services that we've put back onto local government are going to go back, have to be taken by state government. Then we start looking at the rate issue. We can't do very much with 2.5. We've got to provide the services. And whatever formula come up with, we've got to get 22 million or 60 million, whatever it is. We've got to get it somehow. And how we get it, who pays for it. I've had many arguments over the years of the capacity to pay.
Back in 2013, I was a part of the rating strategy committee, and when we looked at the rural rates and all the rates, the differential rates across the board, and when it was looked at other communities and municipalities, we had one of the most fairest rating strategies in comparison to other municipalities. I don't think that's been done again since 2013. I think I agree with what people have said. It needs to be done regularly, whether it's biannually. And it needs, the people who are on this committee with council need to be from people from across the board. With what Phil said, there's access to the Auditor General. There's also access to other means through council for assistance as well. But definitely it is something that needs to be continued to look at very, very often.
Interesting question. Let's look at the last couple of years. The rural rates and the urban rates. We've had probably, it's approximately what, 1% difference between the rural rates and the urban rates. I do believe that the administrators did a fantastic job on regards to try to balance the books, regards to the rates. It's probably one of the hardest jobs. It is one area that actually creates quite a big income for Wangaratta, where we can actually service infrastructure. Now, currently the VFF is putting a policy together to put towards the state government. Hopefully understanding the full details of it. David's actually been part of it, the moderator here. I've only just seen one particular email.
Once again, rural rates aren't my expertise, but I'm also open-minded. But looking at the figures that's supplied by the Rural City on the rates across the whole municipalities of Victoria, and the rural business and rural land rates, which the figures were supplied by the Victorian Farmer Federation, we're actually the lowest in the state. So we must be doing a good job somewhere. But obviously there's always room to review and move things either way.
Many rural people believe that they do pay too much for their rates, and I would be open to review of it.
Yeah, I have to agree with Luke. I've had a look and we are one of the lowest. Also, I think that someone who has more knowledge and expertise would need to look at this, and also needs to be reviewed quite often.
So thank you, Doug. It's not possible to address this in a minute. The rating in Wangaratta is atrocious. The administrators have done a dreadful job, and the councils before them have done an appalling job. The concept that people need to know about is called value capture, and of the people in this room, I would say there are probably 3 people who understand the concept of value capture, and that's why the rates are so skewed and they're so high for people that they shouldn't be, and they're so low for people that they shouldn't be. There's a few people in the room, you might ask them afterwards what value capture is. I'll give you a soldier's 5. Basically, if council spends $1 million on your stuff, then you need to pay more rates because you're now more valuable. But that doesn't happen in Wangaratta.
Tough question, Doug. You may be aware of the VFF policy in regards to rural rates. It would be a very brave or foolish candidate or councillor that would promise a solution one way or the other. It is a very complex problem. But one thing I've always thought about rating is that I think on rural rates, I think there's room to manoeuvre on a few of the peripherals. For example, capping, for example, cyclic assessment based on farm productivity and those sorts of things, but it's such a difficult area. I know in my case, another thing that people don't realise too is that being a primary producer, your rates are tax deductible, which city dwellers don't get, and that's often not factored, but gee, it's a tough one.
I wouldn't say I was versed in rural rates versus CBD in that sense, so I would look to the team of councillors and those from the wards in that area for guidance in regards to the conversation, and also back to the community in consultation with your concerns, coming back to us, as Julian said, value capture, 3 people in the room that know about it. I would imagine that the other 97 don't, so therefore we all need to get together and work as a community as to how we assess it.
Council spend a lot of time trying to work out a rating structure that will allow them to pay their bills. And I don't see that can be altered too much. There is a differential rate now in the rural area, and I think that's been reasonably well accepted by the smaller farmers.
Okay, now I've got just two questions left. I've got a lady at the back of the scarf first, and then I've got a gentleman in the centre here. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Jenny Hart. I'm from Wangaratta. I've been very instrumental in advocating for Urunga Pool, and I'll just note sadly that you can see the remnants of Urunga Pool sitting in a great huge heap.
Yeah, so who's the question, first of all, who's the question directed to, and can you speak to the microphone a little bit louder too, please?
Sorry, the question is quickly directed to every candidate for a swift answer. And yes, just sadly, you can see the remnants of Urunga Pool at the cement squashing facility on the Miller County.
So, sorry, we just got a question out there. Sorry, the question is, what are they doing about the Wurrunga Pool?
So my question is, will the prospective candidates consider revising the current aquatic strategy as the previous administrators overturned the standing strategy, which I have here in my hands?
Ken, I'll kick off with you. Keep it short, please.
The short answer is yes. As I say, I've been an opponent of all the expenditure on swimming with a pool, and I would think there's something that the new council should address fairly quickly.
If we could find balance in economic and community viability, then I would look at it.
Yeah, Jenny, happy to look at it, but I will have to say I'm not sure how far down the track we are and what the cost benefit is of trying to go backwards. I don't know.
Yes, we need to look at the aquatic strategy. There was an aquatic strategy in place. The administrators ran roughshod over it. I don't know why. And it needs to be reconsidered and a more equitable strategy developed that will address the needs of everybody in the community, not just the people in the northern side of Wangaratta. There's already plenty of facilities up there. They've got the existing pools, the indoor courts, netball, tennis, football. So I think that there is room for things to be shared around more equitably than the aquatic strategy allows for.
I would have to look at the aquatic strategy more deeper.
I'd be prepared to look at it because I do believe that Urunga is a forgotten area.
I definitely support a review of the aquatic strategy, seems that the community wants that. And as somebody who walks the streets of Wangaratta every day, because I read gas meters as a casual job, folks, Urunga is desperately in need of a bit of love because it's derelict. And, you know, once a part of the community's run down, it easily goes backwards. So I'm up for a review for sure.
Yeah, we know what the gas is so high. Jenny, we've had so many talks over like the last 6 months. If elected, yes, I want to have a look at it. I want to find out exactly why it hasn't been approved so far with the Bar Reserve one. There has been a problem there, no doubt. Until we get in there, it's like a big box. Until you open it up, you don't know exactly what's in there. Until we find out, I'm still open-minded. I've been thrown a lot of ideas with regards to what to do there. Definitely want to really look at the slush park. I'd like to revise that particular area there. So yeah, until I get in there and find out the true details, I can't promise anything.
Having been on council back in 2011 when that strategy was passed, I certainly do feel that strategy we passed found that balance between the different communities, and it was also about retaining Urunga and looking at the Olympic. Definitely would love to have a relook at the strategy, but I do agree with what Greg said is we have to make sure it's cost effective. If it's too far forward, then we have to look at that and balance that.
Yeah, some of the same opinion. I must admit I'd have to get my head around it and review it first before I can make a qualified answer to that other than to review it.
I must admit that I actually spent a lot of my youth at the Urunga pool during the summers, and I was very surprised when it was closed, knowing just as a kid as what kind of point it was to go to and for that side of town. But once again, it really does the whole strategy needs to be reviewed, and I am not completely across it, I must admit.
After being versed a little bit better, consider it on its merits. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. I'd like to have a look at the original aquatic plan. I do believe myself that I was actually heart shattered when it was closed because all our children went there and learned to swim and took them with the school. But again, it does come down to cost and viability, and I really think that I need to really look at it a lot deeper, and I won't be able to have that chance until I'm elected. Thank you.
I concur with what has been said here, that we do need to revisit that strategy, and until we actually have elected councillors and we can get briefings on it, then we can make informed decisions as to where to go.
I agree exactly what Steve and Helen just said then, with that strategy as well as other strategies that are on the table at the moment. That's not the only one that needs to be looked at.
Thanks, Jenny, for your question. I'll certainly keep a very open mind on all things. I said in my opening speech, it's very important to listen and gather the information. So I've certainly got an open mind on that one.
Thanks, Harry. Well, Jenny,
I think initially that what's been highlighted here is probably the lack of consultation that your younger people were offered throughout the process, and it could be argued that there was adequate consultation, and it could be argued that there wasn't. I think there's 100% support here that I think one of the first things the elected council would do is accept representation from your group to review the decision that was made, and also review the strategy, the aquatic strategy in its entirety. You have my support on it.
Okay, we've got one final question in the centre, the lady in the grey. This is the last group question, and then we'll go to individual questions.
Okay, thank you. My name is Elaine Jacobson, and my question is to anyone who wishes to answer.
Can we just say that it's all in, or?
Yeah, just. Science has shown us that climate change is real. Recent surveys show that a great many Australians believe that climate change is real. What do you think can be done in Wangaratta to help our community, our environment, our wonderful parks and gardens, and our businesses to deal with the ensuing issues of climate change?
George, can you please kick it off?
Great question. At home, I've got 29 panels on top of my roof. I totally believe in that. I would like to see all facilities, town halls, toilet blocks, everything like that, with solar panels on there. They should run efficiently. Yes, we need to look at other ways, water tanks. And perfect example is the actual sale yards. It's got solar panels, it's got water tanks, the whole lot. It runs green.
Good question, Elaine, and one that I'm passionate about and believe in the science. I think we can do a lot more. We should have some sort of renewable energy strategy in Wangaratta. Maybe we could look at sort of subsidising actual renters to get solar panels, because speaking from personal experience, renters miss out. In all our government buildings, I mean, we just got a new sort of medical building built, the old bus place. Not a solar panel to be seen. Some sort of convoluted planning issues around that. But why can't we have planning where we have incentives for solar panels? Also, the greening of all parts of the city, and any new, as a gas meter, I walk around and see how badly things are planned in these housing estates, and there ain't a green spot to be seen. Let alone these. There's a whole lot of questions there.
Well, I have to agree that I do believe that people having solar panels on their roof is one way to help that in that regard. We actually have solar panels on our home, and I also think it'd be great if a lot of people could have double glazing too. Unfortunately, it's a little bit expensive.
Yeah, we too have solar panels on our home, and it's an interesting topic of discussion. But yeah, I'd have to agree with the past candidates on that one.
So I think now the time is right for Wangaratta Council to develop a planning policy around this, so that new builds do actually have some solar component, maybe some battery component in the near future, and certainly water storage. And the water storage would have the added benefit of taking some of the load off our stormwater. And for the wider Wangaratta area, we really need to be looking at the grey water sewage systems that are now available and linking those together so that we can develop our townships. But we need a planning policy about these things, and we need to start mandating them. I was very surprised with my rainwater tanks at the new medical centre that there was a sign on them saying, "Rainwater, do not drink."
Yes, I concur. I think there's a lot of scope for new planning policy into the future. But I don't know, it's probably not common knowledge, but the current administration, and I know the current CEO, have actually shown quite a lot of initiative in this area. It may not be general knowledge, but the City of Wang is already involved in a number of schemes, including a solar farm and including some new recycling technologies. So I think we're on the right path.
Thanks, Elaine. Long way from preps, but we've swapped roles. I'd like to acknowledge that the diversification from fossil fuels is also a way to green our city without actually putting solar panels on. We've also got avenues of things, for example, we can look at wind turbines, other forms. The Melbourne CBD has the Town Hall office building, which is completely green, so we have the ability to look at some options to get some wind and other alternative paths.
Yeah, solar panels are not the real answer, but the council have just sold some land in North Wangaratta where a firm is going to install a solar farm. So I think we're on the right track, and I agree with the other candidates that we should be looking at planning policy for what we do with our new homes and our new businesses.
It's been acknowledged already that council is taking some proactive and positive advice on this and some actions on this that North Wangaratta, and I have no doubt that it will be ongoing and supported by the incoming council.
Yeah, thank you. I think wherever we can make savings, it's a very good idea. And being a farmer, we deal with the climate on a daily basis, day and night, and it's ever changing. So I think the council's on a very good track here to address that.
I think anything that we can do to improve the livability, viability of Wangaratta and to leave it for the future generations in a better place is a good thing.
I concur with what's already been said. The fact is it's already happening out there, and whilst we don't have I'm not sure that we have a policy from council, but that's something the new council can look at, is that businesses and residences are doing their thing, but there is a cost involved. And it just takes time for all those things to happen. So,
yes, I'm all for one for using any little area that we possibly can. And 2 years ago, I wrote to the Assistant Federal Environmental Minister saying, why aren't all the car parks, why aren't all the government buildings having all of these, at least a little bit of solar panelling to make things easier? And they did say that they were looking into it, but when that would happen is anyone's guess. But yes, I am fully aware that we do need to do something, and yes, I do commend the fact that wind farm is going to start.
Just support council to continue their strategy on solar, renewable energy, and that's about it.
I actually think council is doing a pretty good job around sourcing funding and so forth with environment in line. If you go down to the YMCA, there's actually I'm a little bit loose with the terminology, but it's a power gen, cogeneration, thank you. And it was one of it's up there, they were leading the way with installing that and so forth. Currently, it's not necessarily policy, but within the building permits, things still have to be 6-star rated, or new property developments and so forth. So I think Wangaratta and the Wangaratta Council are leading the way with some of the things and trying to get funding and sourcing the funding from government in actually trying to be proactive in being green.
Yes, might be aware that a lot of people would be a methanol plant in Wangaratta that doesn't go anywhere other than burning, and that's it. And that's the Wangaratta side yards, and that's the facility that comes off McCain's casing. We can make full use of that. That's one thing that could come back into the specifically made McCain's casing, I believe, anyway. It should be looked at. Another thing I think we should be able to look at is some of the regulations around composting. I think it may not be in the council to follow the policy on composting, which should be reviewed to enable either, and the council is doing the same thing at, I think at North Wang, they're starting to a compost facility. Private enterprise should be encouraged. We might be also be aware that if we buy local to increase the profitability of our farmers, to increase the topsoil by 10 millimetres, the amount of biological activity that would eliminate any worry about climate change.
I have to agree with Mark. I think the Royal City of Wangaratta are doing a very good job in the way of leading in regards to climate change. I mean, things like the changeover of the street lights, the solar panel program. We had staff members going out and talking to our communities about the different ways that they could make their homes more efficient. The fact that our transfer station will sell mulch, I think it's for $5 for a trailer load, which comes from mulching our trees and limbs that fall, and green waste being taken to the transfer station. And a lot of people don't know, when I was on council, and I don't know if it's still there, some of the council staff may have to confirm, but there was a worm farm on the roof of the council building. So the council does lead the way, and I think there's some fabulous programs that are out there.
Thanks, Lauren. So that concludes the second part of tonight. Now we move on to the third and final part, which is where you can ask any of the candidates a direct question. Very similar to the last session. However, I do ask that you keep it to the topic. I want to see everyone play the ball and no playing the man. And I'll ask for hands to ask the first question. Brian, microphone please.
Thank you very much for your patience. Sorry about the mistake before. I want to ask Dr. Fitch a question. Brian Fox.
Thank you, Brian.
I want to ask Dr. Fitch a question. Dr. Fitch, you were a member of our last elected council of the Royal City of Wangaratta that was sacked by the Minister for Local Government, along with the resignation of the council top management. All of this cost, in my view, very close to $3 million of ratepayers' money. No subsidy, no grants, just the ratepayers paid the bill. Tell me not how the debacle happened, but how you, if elected, will endeavour to make sure that the same situation does not arise again.
Well, I think it's quite clear that I already have addressed that. We got rid of the former management team, and we have a new management team now who are competent and people of integrity, who I've already said will work, I believe, will work with the new council. I think I've already sorted the problem out, Brian, and quite frankly, it was one of the reasons I was elected. It was a big bone of contention in Wangaratta that council was being run extremely poorly, which is why there was a huge changeover of councillors, and it was inevitable that an honest council being elected was going to run into the problems that we did. I'm an honest person. If you have a problem with that, there's nothing I can do about that. I'm a good manager. If you have a problem with that, I'm not going to change. I care about people, and I've looked after people my whole life. That's what I do for a living. That's what my family does. If you have a problem with that, there's nothing I can do about that. Brian, if you thought more of me, I would think less of myself.
I don't want to turn this into a conversation.
Sorry, we might just wait. Sorry, Brian. You might get another chance. We'll just wait for somebody else to have another question, and then if there's an opportunity, I'll give you an opportunity. Man in the centre here, just keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. Run the microphone over, please.
John Griffiths from Warali. Unlike some of the others, this is just an aside. I'm quite happy with the roads and the general situation in that area. But my question, I'll direct it to Kieran, I think, because he's the closest really to my locality in the Ovens Valley, in the middle Ovens Valley. And it's about the conditions with the bike tracks that are slowly extending outwards from the centre of Wangaratta. So my question is, have you given any thought to bike track extending out beyond Miller towards Warali or across towards Everton?
Thanks for the question, John, and absolutely. I'm sorry I haven't got some of my advertising material here tonight to prove it. I guess having been the last chairman of the Rail Trail Committee that saw the completion of Stage 1, which was a great completion for Wangaratta, and we became totally enthused to implement and trigger off Stage 2. Of course, funding has an impact on that and has had a huge impact over the years. We have seen gradual rail trail development from Wangaratta out to Moorview. We've seen the development through Oxley in the time that I was on council that's gone through to Millawar now. What's begging to be done is the completion of Wangaratta through to Whitfield, and also I guess one of the most important linkage parts of the trail is Millawar through to Everton. Get that connection. And I think with the change to the Oxley Flats Road now that we're seeing the bicycle use out there, not 1 day a week, not 2 days a week, but over 3 or 4 days a week, there has to be consideration for that. There's been some fantastic work done in the rural city of Wangaratta with the bike network paths over the years, and all councils that have come in have always been committed to that, and that's outstanding. And it's always about getting a little bit of fair share back out to the rural areas, and I have no doubt that over the next 1 or 2 terms of council that will begin. So thank you for the question, and I'm totally supportive of our rail trail and our bike programs.
More questions?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Kieran Clem. A question to Ashley. Well, I picked you, Ashley, being the youngest there. Just next door, we've got the old fire station museum. I've got that much that I've got stored there, they can't display it all. You're talking about what you can do for the younger ones in the community. What can you do to preserve history, or help to preserve history? As I say, a lot of us here are older people, and that history there is a lot older than us. So just my question to you, Ashley.
So what's the directed question, sorry?
What can you do for the older generation, or the fire brigade, the old fire museum?
Towards the museum.
Okay, fire museum.
Yeah, I suppose, I really love my history, I suppose, as well. I'd have to research that one further, but we're not going to get rid of any history. We would keep it there. I know that the council of Wangaratta, and as I said, we are the future, but, the history is Wangaratta, so I don't think that we would necessarily get rid of it, and hopefully I've answered your question properly, but I'd have to, research that one a bit further.
Question down the front.
Hi, Cassandra again. My question's to George. I've noticed that one of the agenda points on your ads is support for health services, and I was wondering if you could elaborate on what interest you have and what you see could happen in Wangaratta in future years.
Thank you for that question. Something I've been dealing with the last 8 years. I've been a carer for the last 8 years, and started off with my father. He passed away 4.5 years ago, and there wasn't much services around here. And luckily I found one particular service, that was Villa Maria. And they guided me, because I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea what to do, how to do it, but they guided me. So I've got a lot of friends who are out in the Warby wards, South wards, the whole lot. And a lot of them European, and they're actually having problems getting people to go out there, nurses and things like that, to help them out. And that's something I've been contemplating for a long time. I've actually sat down with Brendan McGrath going back about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The biggest problem what we've got at the moment is middle of next year, the health services are actually going to be changing. So the way it basically works is, the way the funding is all going to be changed. And until that changes, until we get a direction on how that changes, well, that's when I'll sit down and go, okay, this is where we need to go. I am deeply concerned. If it wasn't for little funding here and there, the biggest problem is where I'll get a lot of the help from is from Melbourne. And I want to try to keep it local. And that is the biggest problem. We're not keeping it local. What happens is we're dealing with, like my mother's got an aged care package, and it's a company from Melbourne, and she gets $7,000 to spend. So the only thing that we can actually use it on is gardening. Okay, yes, they use it on local contractors, but what they do is actually make money on that particular.
Thanks, George. Do you have a question? No? We've got a lady in the centre, please.
Thank you. My question's to Luke Davies. My name's Gaynor Matthew. Luke, arts and culture is your main platform in this election, you say. Why do you think these are important for Wangaratta and the district?
Thanks, Gaynor. I think art and culture, the creative industries, if you want to use that term, is important for the whole of Victoria. A review, a survey, if you will, was done by the previous state government. They worked out that the creative industries create $22 billion worth of financial gain for Victoria and employ around 220,000 people. And we can be part of that. We are part of that, and I think we can be more part of that by using what we have in the city with our infrastructure, with our great performing arts centre. We've got a wonderful gallery which can be better hopefully someday. We've got a wonderful library. So I'm about protecting those things that we already have and looking for ways that we can improve tourism and improve the creative industries in our rural city, which hopefully will lead to jobs, more economic development and so on.
Thanks, Steve. Gentleman down the front.
This question's for you, Dave. Seeing you grew up here and went to school and you know a bit. The Wangaratta area has grown beautifully. It's terrific. And as a councillor, it's going to have plenty of tough questions and tough decisions to make. But the slate will never be clean until the public, the Shire publicly announced the Pangland people were here before, and it needs to be put on the signs coming into Wangaratta. I know I asked that question more or less before, but what would you do about it? Will you be helping to work on it? Thank you.
I would support the notion that we acknowledge on a greater level. We've got Ballara Place coming along, where we've got the renaming of the curved road in behind the Sydney. We've done some little steps along the way to acknowledge the unveiling last month, and I feel it's just another little step and another little reminder to the whole Shire. I mean, that current cultural walk acknowledges the internal part of the area, but there are other communities outside of that where we always have those signs which is welcome to Wangaratta, and I feel like it would be a great acknowledgement to acknowledge people.
Thanks.
Gentleman, just at the end of that second row.
My name's Tom Whiten. I'd like to address my question to Harvey Penn. Harvey Seeger, Pushchevich, are you going to be a rubber stamp, or are you going to be, if you were elected, would you be a rubber stamp, or would you be our elected councillor?
You could need a microphone for that answer. The rubber stamp.
Thanks, Tom, for the question. I think everybody would know that I've got a pretty straight down the line action, my perseverance and things, and I don't think I will be a rubber stamp. I think my track record proves that over the years, I started in 2006 to try and get a roof over the Wangaratta Livestock Exchange, and I think anyone who's got the tenacity and still been plugging away at it some 10 years later, I don't think the rubber's stamp.
Further questions? Got the gentleman over the other side there, please.
Tim Maguire,
This is directed to Ashley. I am 16 and I have no work. What options would you explore for me and other kids like me who I only work for the Jazz Festival every year but do not have a paying job? What would you explore to find more jobs for kids like me to get paid?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I know personally I struggled after Year 12 finding a job. My hours came up, got cut back as soon as I turned 18. It is, challenging, and being 16, my brother's also looking for a job and I'm helping him. I know online they always expect you to, hand your resume in online. I would say print them off, go in yourself and actually directly explain to businesses you'd like maybe 15 hours of work just for some pocket money. Go in and represent yourself. And also, there are also a lot of places in Wangaratta that are helping young people to find jobs as well. I know the Chronicle does a great job in online and stuff. Even though that is not working, go in and actually see a business. So even your cafes, your local bakeries, just explain and put yourself out there, because I think that's the best way. Even though they're not advertising, it's great for yourself to go in and represent yourself and explain the situation. I know that if I'm elected, I'll be definitely doing something more about it. It is hard for businesses. You are lucky because you're 16 and you cost less, but also they've got to have that income too. So really print off and hand in your resumes hard copy, because that actually works. You can come and see me, but the library is one, and also at school, if you're at school in education, you can't print off at school. Oh wow, that's interesting. Yeah, well I know that I printed off some resumes at school, and also if you've got family, friends, or the library is great for support, or even go in up the street to those companies like ATEL and that you can look for a job, and they, I'm sure, would help you with that.
Thanks, Ash. No further questions? Okay, so if there's no further questions, we may as well wrap this show up. So tonight, as you can see, it's a real challenge for council to really balance between expectations and cost. Really, at the end of the day, there's a finite resource that councils have to work within to deliver the services that the community not only expect but also desire. So it's a tough job. Tough job not to be taken lightly. And thankfully tonight you've got actually a good pool of candidates here to choose from. For the last nearly 2.5 hours you've heard the credentials, the diverse opinions and the views on many issues. I hope tonight it does help form your opinion of who you will cast your vote for. There will be an opportunity after tonight, after this official part finishes, for you to catch up with the candidates and have a bit of one-on-one time to get either your views across or to ask them a few more questions. But I do thank you for coming out tonight on this interesting weather, but also thank the candidates for putting your hands up, because that's the first step, half the battle, and I wish you all the best. So I'll hand back to Matt. Thank you.
I just wanted to quickly say thank you for everyone for coming out tonight in this terrible weather. Obviously, thank you to the candidates for making themselves available tonight as well. We would also particularly like to thank the Rural City of Wangaratta for making this facility available to us, and to Alicia, Natalie and Dan in particular for running everything behind the scenes. And of course a big thank you to David for travelling all this way and moderating for us this evening. Having someone completely impartial to run proceedings tonight was really important. So thank you again. Please travel home safely.